Good morning. I'm Nelda Mom, and welcome to Senando Sound Waves. We're going to be reading this is week 16, day 76, and we're going to start out reading in Deuteronomy, chapter 2, verses 1 through 25. When we turned back and set out toward the desert along the route to the Red Sea, as the Lord had directed me, for a long time we made our way around the hill country of Seir. Then the Lord said to me, "You have made your way around this hill country long enough. Now turn north. Give the people these orders. You are about to pass through the territory of your brothers, the descendants of Esau, who lived in Seir. They will be afraid of you, but be very careful. Do not provoke them to war, for I will not give you any of their land, not even to put your foot on. I have given Esau the hill country of Seir as his own. You are to pay them in silver for the food you eat and the water you drink. The Lord your God has blessed you and all the work of your hands. He has watched over your journey through this vast desert. These 40 years the Lord your God has been with you, and you have not lacked anything." So we went on past our brothers, the descendants of Esau, who lived in Seir. We turned from Araba Road, which comes up from Elath and Enzion-Ger, and traveled along the desert road of Moab. Then the Lord said to me, "Do not harass the Moabites or provoke them to war, for I will not give you any part of their land. I have given Er, the descendants of Lot, as a possession." The Emites used to live there, a people strong and numerous, and tall as the Anakites. Like the Anakites, they too were considered Rephites, but the Moabites called them Emites. Horites used to live in Seir, but the descendants of Esau drove them out. They destroyed the Horites before them and settled in the place, just as Israel did in the land the Lord gave them as their possession. And the Lord said, "Now get up and cross the Zered Valley." So we crossed the valley. 38 years passed from the time we left Kadesh Barnea until he crossed the Zered Valley. By then, that entire generation of fighting men had perished from the camp, as the Lord had sworn to them. The Lord's hand was against them until he had completely eliminated them from the camp. Now when the last of these fighting men among the people had died, the Lord said to me, "Today you are to pass by the region of Moab at Er. When you come to the Ammonites, do not harass them or provoke them to war, for I will not give you possession of any land belonging to the Ammonites. I have given it as a possession to the descendants of Lot." That too was considered a land of the Rephaites who used to live there. But the Ammonites called them Zeminites. They were a people strong and numerous, as tall as the Anakites. The Lord destroyed them from before the Ammonites, drove them out, and settled in their place. The Lord had done the same for the descendants of Esau, who lived in Seir, when he destroyed the Horites from before them. They drove them out and have lived in their place to this day. And for the Avites, who lived in the villages as far as Gaza, the Sephirites come out from Camphator and destroyed them and settled in their place. Set out now and cross the Ammon Gorge. See, I have given into your hand Sihon the Amorite, king of Heshbon, and his country. Begin to take possession of it and engage him in battle. This very day I will begin to put the terror and fear of you and all the nations under heaven. They will hear reports of you and will tremble and be in anguish because of you. The arrows to consider today. What does this passage say? What did this passage mean to its original audience? What does this passage tell us about God? What does this passage tell us about man? What does this passage demand of me? How does this passage change the way I relate to people? What does this passage prompt me to pray to God? Israel spent 40 years in the wilderness as a punishment for their sin. God, who is always faithful to his promises, did not abandon his people. Always present with them during their wandering, he fed them with food they did not deserve and provided personal guidance and protection. God's promises were fulfilled when the second generation, and not the first, would take the promised land. Moses would also not enter the land. So the book of Deuteronomy recounted several of his sermons as the people gazed at the land they were attempting to take for the second time. Moses' counsel began with a reminder that God never, not for a moment, abandoned his people. His presence was with them and would continue to go with them as they journeyed into the land. Faith in God's power and protection was the most essential ingredient in successfully taking the land and dwelling there as a nation of image bearers.